everybody. Welcome. This is Brenda Miller from Stampin' Up. I'm a Stampin' Up demonstrator located in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I've been a demonstrator for over 25 years. I am here today as part of my quick classes that I hold every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And I like to share some tips and tricks and some products that perhaps you haven't used yet, or maybe show you some things that you have used and here give you some new ideas and some tips. So without further ado, let me show you. We're going to be working with the Sweet Citrus bundle today. So the Sweet Citrus bundle, I'm going to just flip my camera because it's just a little bit easier. So we'll look at my desktop. So the Sweet Citrus bundle, I'm going to raise this up a little bit. Thought it was lower. There we go. Sweet Citrus bundle consists of this stamp set, and it's in the 2023 mini catalog that we have that's active now, the one January through April. And you can see that it shows some pieces of what could be oranges or lemons or limes or grapefruits even. So it's really quite versatile if you're a citrus person. Also has a cute little thanks a bunch, which is always good to have. And so it's just very cute. And it comes with not only these dies, which we're going to use, and I'm going to show you how to use them, which are just so nice. First of all, it cuts out a bunch of citruses at the same time, which is really nice because it gives you a lot to put on your card with just one swipe through the machine. And it also has duplicates of the leaves and of the flowers that are all contained in the stamp set. So you stamp and then cut. So you can see that it makes for a very easy way to get a whole bunch on your card. But not only does it have the die cuts, but when you purchase the die cuts, you also get this embossing folder. And this embossing folder, I think, is probably the best part of the whole kit. And I'm going to show you how we can use it. It has lots and lots of detail. You see mine has a little bit of ink on there from what we're going to be doing today is a card we did for a demonstrator swap that I hosted on Saturday. And so a lot of people used it, and I haven't washed it off. It doesn't really affect anything, but you can see that it has lots of depth. So lots of texture in this embossing folder. So I'm going to show you how to make a lovely card using a lot of these pieces. So let me show you the card. So this is the card we made, and you see it uses the embossing folders. Look at that texture on there, right? And all the pieces of fruit are also textured, and that just makes it really fun and nice, I think. So so the base of the card is So Saffron, just in case you were wondering, and it's a standard card base. I don't know where to put this so that you can kind of see what we're working towards. But then let's go ahead and use the embossing folder. Now, for this background piece, I just used a piece of basic white cardstock, and I put it through the machine to get it embossed so that you could see the different pieces of fruit, and you can place it on your embossing folder anywhere you want to get whichever pieces that you want. Let's say you have a preference. A lot of times I just throw it through, whatever I get. And once you put that through the Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine using the platform, which is plate 1, and the embossing plate, which is plate 4 and is gray, that when you put that through, you end up with a piece that looks like this. So this first piece, you can see on the back. So if you want it debossed, which is indented, you could use that side, or you could use the embossed side, which is this side. So let's go ahead and mount this now that we have this, and so we can put it out of the way. So I'm just using a little of regular adhesive for this. Nothing fancy, and I'm just going to layer it on a piece of cardstock that is a quarter of an inch larger than the piece that is embossed. Okay, So that's how you get that measurement, and that'll be that layer. I'm going to put that aside right now. And then let's talk about how to make our oranges, because I like to get all my pieces ready and then put it all together at the end. So for this, I'm going to start off with stamping, and I'm going to use the stamp that has the outside of what I'm going to make our, I'm going to call them lemons, even though this is kind of orangey. It's Mango Melody, but I still think it's a lemon in the end. What's the cross between a lemon and an orange? I don't know if it has a name. Hi, Stella. I'm glad you like this technique. I know you like the embossing, right? It's really cool. It's amazing what you can do with embossing folders. So here we go. So here we have, and I meant to show, we're going to start again. I meant to pull this out. Now, this is called a paper piercing mat, and it is available from Stampin' Up. If you search for paper piercing mat, it will come up in the online store. I'm not sure it's currently in a catalog. For a while it was out, and while you can use it with your take your pick tool and pierce holes, right, with your pointy tip, with the handy dandy tool, what it's also good for is stamping, particularly maybe with a large stamp, and definitely with the photopolymer stamp. Sometimes it's hard to get the insides of some of the pieces, and you'll see that on the next stamp. But what I'm going to do is stamp that again on the reverse side of what I just did. And you notice I turned it over, so I stamped it with the stamp pad on top just to make sure I get good coverage. And now when I stamp it down, the paper piercing mat has a little bit of give, and that little bit of give allows the image to come out more clearly. Now this is the stamp that I was really worried about. Sometimes it's hard to get the inside of these to come out, and now that doesn't happen on every stamp that we have, but I did find that with this, and I wanted to share that tip on how to do that. So you see this is the inside of the orange, lemon, whatever you want to call this one. And I just turned it so that when I look through, I am hopefully lining it up to the center. Now my camera is right over it. It's hard for me. It blocks out a little bit of what I can see, but hopefully I got it in basically the right spot. So just so you know, the outside again was Mango Melody, and the inside was Daffodil Delight, and that's all stamped on So Saffron. Why I use those combinations, I don't know. I think I saw somebody else do it, and I thought it looked good. So anyway, now that our stamping is done for this, we want to give it dimension, and we want to cut it out. Now, let me show you. The embossing folder is designed, not all of them are, but this embossing folder is one that is designed to cut and emboss at the same time. And the way you would do that is that you would line up your paper inside and place in the die that fits in the right place. And I know it fits because it kind of catches. So the piece of paper would be underneath. And then, so you put your piece of paper underneath, and then you would do that. But when I tried to line these up, I found it very difficult to do. So even though that looks good, when I went ahead and closed it, not everything was in exactly the right place, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of what we're trying to do here. So instead of doing it all at once, I am recommending with this embossing folder to do it in separate steps. So just so you know, should you decide to just put a plain piece of paper in there, this is what you get. And these are pretty too, right? Even without stamping to get the extra color, they look really pretty. So sometimes you might want to use just the embossing folder and cutting it out. And that, again, is very easy. You could do all of that at the same time with the same plates that you would use for embossing, okay? But that's not what we're going to do. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to take our piece that's stamped, and we're going to line it up in the embossing folder so that it embosses where we want it to. Now you see, what I did was I cut my base piece of paper to 4 and 4.5. So yep, it's sticking out a little bit on the sides. But thankfully, using the Big Shot, it has a little bit of room. This is only about 5.5 inches wide, maybe even a little less. And the platform is 6 inches wide. So we can get that in there, and you just very carefully get it lined up to where you like it. And you take it over to your machine and you put it through. Now, of course, through the magic of television, I went ahead and did that. So here we have the next step. So that is really fun. You can see how it embossed in just the right places because of where I was able to line it up and put it. So now that the embossing is done, now I'm going to go back over to the machine and use the dies that correspond, and you can see that they lay easily on top. Again, it's easy to tell where they go because it kind of the embossing stops it. So you're going to go ahead and put this through using the die cutting plates, which are normally plate 1, which is the platform, plate 2, which is the skinny little platform, and then an acrylic plate sandwich where you put the acrylic plate underneath your paper, then your die, and then another acrylic plate. So, of course, through the magic of television, I went ahead and did that, and this is what they look like. And this is what we'll use for our card. So here we go. Now we have our little pieces. Isn't that great? Easy peasy. Okay, so now that we've got those, let's move on to our leaves. So I just have a piece of white cardstock, and now I'm going to use Granny Apple Green. Love this green. So bright and fun and sunny. And because we have multiples of the dies, I can go ahead and put 2 of these through the machine at the same time. So I'll just be doing some standard die cutting. And because I knew I was going to be doing this, I went ahead and pre-cut it to the right size that I knew I could get. Now, you'll see I have a little bit of washi tape on my die, and that's because I want to be able to hold it in place. And I reuse it. I just leave it stuck to it, and you can see on this next one that I don't have any washi tape on it because it fell off, so I'll have to get another piece, but I'm just going to take that over to the machine and die cut these as well to get us our leaves that look like, there is a second one here. Here it is. Okay, so I have 2 sets of leaves. So that leaves me with actually 6 die cut pieces, but I'm actually not going to use this one for this card. You could always put it on the inside of the card. That would be really fun too. Okay, so that gives us all of our pieces for our card. So let's go ahead and assemble it. So we're going to start with the card base, which is over here, and a piece of basic white. So again, it's So Saffron and then basic white. And then using regular adhesive, I'm going to put the basic white on top, which gives us our first layer. Then I'm going to take the piece that we did first, where we embossed the white and layered it onto So Saffron, and I'm going to go ahead and put that on to the card front. And I'm putting it off to the right side. Okay, so now we have that. Then I'm going to take an unadorned piece of basic white. I know you can't believe it. I actually have pieces that don't have anything on it, and I'm going to adhere it to a mat. Whoop, a little extra lemon there, and layer it on here. And then using dimensionals, I'm going to put this on top of that card front, on top of the layer. So I'm just going to use 2. We've got lots going on this card, so just 2 of these. Peel that off, and I'm putting this center to the right, left side. Okay, so here we go. So now, one thing I wanted to point out was when you use the die cutting machine, and when you emboss and then cut, you lose a little bit of the texture. Now you can see because we stamped it, it stands out a little bit more, but I don't know if you can tell because when it goes through the machine again, it's actually squashing it again, and the die holds it up enough so that it doesn't get rid of the design entirely, but it does squash it down a little bit. And I had meant to point that out before. So if all that deep dimension is what you want, you may not want to do the technique the way that I showed you how to do it. But I'm fine with it. So I'm going to just use regular adhesive again to layer these on. And I'm just putting a little adhesive in the center so that I can tuck things in and around. And on this last quarter piece of lemon, I'm going to use a dimensional on the back so that it sits kind of on top of the other pieces. And then I'm going to take my leaves and tuck them under like so. And again on the other side. Just trying to make sure it doesn't run off the card like I did on this one. You can see it went off the card a little bit, so when I go to put it in the envelope, not the greatest. Okay, so now we have our sentiment, and this, we did enough on this card, so I decided to keep this super easy. We're just going to use that same Granny Apple Green, and this is a sentiment from the set. It says, "Have a zesty birthday," which is a fun little saying, I think. I'm stamping it right in the middle of this 1/2-inch strip of basic white cardstock. So that makes it fits perfectly, and it's a perfect setting for my my sentiment. And then I'm just going to take a pair of scissors, and I love to do this, just a nice way to finish off a sentiment, especially when it's a long one like that. And I'm just cutting it on a diagonal. I like to do it in the same direction on each end. And then what I'm going to do is adhere this to the card, but I'm going to do it putting on the back of the left side. I'm going to use regular adhesive. Okay, just a little bit of regular adhesive there. And on the back of the right side, I want to use a dimensional because it needs to sit higher, a little bit higher, to keep it from getting unbalanced. So here we go. Have a zesty birthday. Put that on, and voila. And what good is a card if it doesn't have a little bit of bling, just a little bit. To keep it nice and mellow, I just use the iridescent pearls, and I'm making my visual triangle, if you will. So we have one here, and then we'll put a big one down in this corner to draw the eye across the card. And there we have it. So that is a fun card that you can easily duplicate using the tricks that I showed you today. Now this this bundle is available in the 2023 January through April mini catalog. That's a mouthful. Always try to get that right. And just so that a reminder that celebration only goes until next week. So we've less than a week left. It ends on the 28th. So if you want to grab something extra with your bundle, you need to go ahead and place that order by then. If you have any questions or concerns about what I've done, or if you have any pointers, have you had success with the Sweet Citrus embossing folder and dies, I would love to hear about it. And you can put those in the comments either on YouTube or on Facebook, which that's where these videos will live after this. So thank you very much for joining. I really appreciate it. And I hope you all have a great day. And I'll be back next week on March 1st, believe it or not, March 1st for the next quick class. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.